Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Haute Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journey, encourage folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories. Hello, and welcome to the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journey of food entrepreneurs. We're glad you've joined us today as we bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Marshall of Marshall's Haute Sauce.
And Sarah Masoni of Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center. Hi, Sarah Marshall.
Hi, Sarah. I wasn't sure if you were joining us today because I saw you posting pictures of beautiful water. Where are you?
I'm down in Clearwater, Florida. We're having our April meeting for the Specialty Food Association's Board of Directors.
And you decided to do it in Florida.
Yeah, we moved from coast to coast, so it was East Coast this spring.
Very cool. Well, it looks beautiful. I hope you're having a great time. I thought you were on a vacation, so I was like, don't join us, but you're working.
I'm working.
All right, sounds good. Are you eating good food down there in Florida?
Well, they brought a bowl of fruit to my room for me today, so I ate some fruit and I had a poke bowl for lunch and actually fruit for breakfast. A lot of fruit.
Yeah.
Hopefully seafood for dinner.
Perfect. That sounds like all the things to eat while you're in Florida.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you were talking to me about a podcast,
Joy of Cooking.
Our other podcast, The Joy of Cooking.
You won an award. Tell us about it.
So that podcast was rated in the top 20 food podcasts of all the food podcasts, which is pretty cool.
Dude.
So I don't know if our listeners, if we've even talked about it on this show, but we produce the Joy of Cooking podcast as well. So if you want to listen to that, we have lots of home cooks as guests and cookbook authors and different chefs. So it is very food related, and just the goal of that podcast is just to get people to cook, especially from the Joy of Cooking cookbook, but also to talk about food memories. And since that cookbook has spanned generations and the authors are the hosts of the show, I produce it, but I end up guest hosting about every other show. So you can listen to me more if you feel the need.
Actually, the first recipe that I heard about from Joy of Cooking was caramel corn, of all things.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine in Corvallis when I was at OSU was telling me all about how wonderful the Joy of Cooking was. This was like in the early 80s. And she presented me with a Joy of Cooking cookbook in like 1983, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's really cool is that a lot of different generations can relate to it. And it's still something that's gifted a lot when people first get married or when they first move out or, first start cooking at home. So, and then there's old recipes in there, that, John's great great grandmother wrote. And so a lot of those stay in the book. And so the caramel corn recipe is still in there. Marshmallows is a really popular one when people first started making marshmallows at home. But then they also continue to update the recipes. So then there'll be lots of recipes that are either inspired by, since they live in Portland, it'll be inspired by different people in Portland or just food that they've had as they've traveled around the world. So it's pretty cool. It's been a fun podcast to do. And yeah, we appreciate being nominated for that award. Top food podcast is a pretty big deal. So
that is a big deal.
Yeah, I hope everybody listens.
Good job. Don't feel any pressure. I'm sure you'll be just fine after winning that award.
I don't feel the pressure.
Hang out with me.
I just, I love when people want to cook. So if it's inspiring people to cook and eat food that they've made, and I'm excited about it. So we're not really going to change anything. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
Excellent.
Well, we have a special guest with us today. We have Ashley Colpaart. She's the founder and CEO of the Food Corridor, and she's going to tell us all about it. But Ashley, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be with the Sarahs
I
finally.
know, so fun. I'm glad that we
hmm
could make it work. We always want to connect listeners to you or to the food corridor, wherever you want them to go. So if you want to tell people the Instagram on the website, how to find you, and then we'll link it in the show notes.
Sure. So we're at Instagram at the Food Corridor. We are at thefoodcorridor.com. We are also at thekitchendoor.com, which we'll probably talk about here in a little while, and on the LinkedIn. So we're not too social, but we have a big
And you have a
community.
podcast,
We have a little
YouTube channel?
yeah, it's like interviews.
Mm.
So our YouTube channel has a bunch of interviews on it with different shared kitchen operators and different people in the industry. So we're doing some more content creation this year, which is exciting.
Very cool. Well, we'll make sure to link all those things so people can easily click on them and find them. We always like to start at the beginning of your journey with developing, since you founded the Food Corridor, with founding it. When did that happen? What inspired you to do it?
Yeah. So my mom was a food entrepreneur growing up. So I spent weekends getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the Travis County Farmers Market out in Austin, Texas. They started a hot sauce company, which you will be love, Sarah. It was called
Yay.
Sergeant Pepper's Hot Sauce. It was one of the first habanero sauces in the US. And we were in Austin and won some awards at the Austin Hot Sauce Festival. And this was kind of in the early 90s, right when Whole Foods was kind of becoming more well known. And my mom produced it in our home kitchen. So I remember in the summer times having to wear swim goggles over our eyes because we'd be crying from how hot the peppers were. And it was just a great concept. And it was a family business. And I spent weekends at the farmers market with all the other vendors and their children. And it just was really formative for me. But one thing that stuck with me, and now that I, work in food entrepreneurship, is that they kind of struggled to get over the hump, to commercialize. And we were out in Lake Travis, which is kind of far from the city center, and there wasn't a commercial kitchen out there for commercialization. So we did it in our home kitchen, as a cottage production. But once they started getting kind of institutionalized and able to sell into retail and other places, people wanted that. A lot of the people that wanted to buy the sauce wanted it to be produced in a commercial space and not at home. And so they kind of hit that limit, and it was a side hustle for them. It was a side business. It wasn't, enough to pay the bills at that point because it hadn't been scaled. And so they had to make the hard decision of just not really taking it to the next level. And that was always kind of disappointing because the branding was great and the sauce was great. It was award winning, all these things. So that stuck with me. And then my father was a computer engineer. He immigrated to the US in the 70s, and he helped design some of the first microprocessor chips for the home computer. So tech has always just been a really big foundation for me, the Silicon Valley and all the creativeness that was coming out of that era. So now I own a food technology company. So when I say my story, it kind of makes sense, but it wasn't until I was being interviewed by a journalist that I told that story. And he was like, "Oh, you were raised on chips and salsa." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess when you put it that way, it makes perfect sense." But yeah, my kind of adult background or why I got into this was I studied nutrition, human nutrition, and food science, food safety, and worked in community dietetics, and really became interested in food systems, how we grow, produce, manufacture, distribute, and consume foods, and how when you change any part of that system, it impacts another part of the system. So you kind of have to think of things holistically when it comes to food systems. And that was always very fascinating to me, but also the sustainability of those systems and what it means to have access to local and regional food systems, especially when shit hits the fan. We've had shit hit the fan, through COVID, and, there's big things happening in the world right now. And I know when COVID happened, people went right to their local regional food systems and were trying to get local meat and trying to get local dairy. And it was kind of like, oh, first time a lot of people had ever thought about the necessity of having those systems fortified in case of emergencies and just in case, in just preventative senses. And so that was kind of what's always driven me, is like that sustainability.
Very cool. And when did you start the food corridor?
The food corridor is actually the result of my dissertation research at Colorado State. So I started it 11 years ago, and my dissertation research was looking at underutilized assets in the food space, and essentially how we can make the invisible visible for people to access the infrastructure. So this was at a time where Airbnb and Uber became kind of popularized, and I was kind of thinking about the sharing economy and like what it would look like to apply the sharing economy methodology to the food system. And I was like, well, what if we did this for commercial kitchen space and we made that visible to people so that entrepreneurs could access that space more easily and know that they can, instead of paying $300,000 to build out their own commercial kitchen, they have this opportunity to access it like they would a gym membership. It's like you need a mixer, you need, scaled up infrastructure. It's kind of like accessing the treadmill or the weight system. You don't have those at home, but you might be able to pay a membership to get access to these commercial spaces. And the ideas that would blossom out of the access entry points that were made visible. And so I studied that at Colorado State, and then the feedback on my surveys of this idea were so good that I decided to commercialize it myself and build the software around the idea.
I know we have a lot of people in Portland that are using your software. How many kitchens are using that software right now, Ashley?
Yeah, so we have 600 shared use kitchens across the US and Canada that use Food Corridor. So Food Corridor is basically the back end software for the owner operator of the kitchen. So they use our software kind of like MindBody in the gyms and space, uses it for scheduling and booking, compliance management. So the renter's food license, their insurance, and their food handler card can all be put online for their onboarding experience. And then they can put them on a billing plan, they can book through the portal and then pay through the portal, so that all of that is done and taken care of for the owner and operator of the kitchen. So we just kind of make it seamless for them. But yeah, 600 kitchens are now using it. And the cool part we've noticed in the last few years is kitchens that are on our platform that are opening second and third locations, because we've been able to help them operationalize their back end and they can scale that. So we even see like the kitchen operator's ability to scale, which is always really awesome to have that happen.
And I've talked to lots of people that use kitchens that use your software, and they're all very thankful and grateful for how organized the kitchen is now. Having been there without it and now with it, they think it's way better.
Yeah, I think it helps them kind of also organize themselves a little bit. I know a lot of the food entrepreneurs being able to see, they're trying to do their COGS and they're trying to figure out how much time did I spend. They can go and get their reports and know exactly, what they're spending and what their production times are and if they're getting more efficient. So yeah, I think it can serve as a really great tool to help the entrepreneur themselves as well.
And I think a lot of times the people that are running those kitchens are usually entrepreneurs themselves. Like they've rented the kitchen and they're renting it out to other people. So they're busy people already because they're already trying to run a business. That's how it was in the shared kitchen that I was in. My friend had Masala Pop, which was her own business, but then because she signed the lease, she had to run the kitchen. So your software didn't exist then. This was quite some time ago. But I think as soon as I was looking through all the different things that you did, I was like, oh, this is exactly what she needed.
Mm-hmm. She may be in business today if she would have had it.
Yeah, because it was so overwhelming. It's overwhelming to manage a kitchen while also managing a business. It's a lot because it's kind of like having two businesses. But you do all these really great things that helps people. I noticed that you have like a health department checklist and you do like billing and you have maintenance checklists, like all these things that, we would just kind of write on a whiteboard, and be like, hey, can you take care of this, but you have these great systems in place. So it's really wonderful. Do you want to talk about the different things that you provide that are helpful to the people managing kitchens?
Yeah, in addition to kind of just the software, one of the things we've always done is try to build community. So, to your point, oftentimes these folks that are running kitchens are, an island into themselves. They're running their own business, and then they have this other business model that's kind of obscure. It's like they're renting out space and they're, like you said, they're hacking things together. They have the dry erase board and they have the Google Sheets, and they're just like trying to keep it all coordinated. But it's not often that they meet other owners and operators of kitchens. And so we found when you bring those folks together, they can commune over the issues of the day, but also solve problems together. So we created a network for incubator and commissary kitchens. which is an online Facebook group where folks can ask questions. Hey, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with this kind of member that's, paying but not actually producing in the kitchen? Or how do you handle your health department? There's all these different issues that they face. And when they can crowdsource solutions, it really becomes powerful. And so that's turned into its own community. It's turned into its own newsletter that we do every month. It's turned into an annual summit where we actually bring people together. And like you guys, we celebrate food and we look at the local food system of a city that we're going to, and we tour kitchens and we look at different models and crowdsource solutions and have fun together and eat good food. So it's, we try to provide resources in addition to just software, because I think software can feel kind of transactional, and as we all know, food is relational. And so the people in food tend to really want those types of experiences. And that's been wonderful. We also have tools available, toolkits, best practices, one-pagers, operations manuals that people can just turnkey plug and play so that they don't have to create all those things from scratch. So, we've tried to service the industry to help them all move forward and know what those best practices are, because when they win, we win, and then when they win, the food businesses win. So it's kind of this virtuous cycle. So we feel pretty blessed to be at the center of it.
That's really cool. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to hear more about how people can sign up and be part of the things that you do. So we'll be right back.
Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard, by providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together. I've been around Ashley a lot, and she hasn't actually asked me to sign up for the food corridor or the kitchen stuff. I'm kind of wondering what she would say to me if she heard that I was going to start a kitchen.
Sarah, I would tell you to run. You don't have time. No. So what do you mean? Are you asking what resources you should access first when first thinking about starting a kitchen?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, what that pathway looks like.
Mm.
I think the one thing is not everyone out there is going to be an owner and operator of a shared use kitchen. That's going to be obviously a pretty small segment. But I think the part that's compelling to a lot of your listeners is the kitchen door, which, we had all these kitchens sign up for the food corridor. And if they're successful, when they get leads and they get more food businesses finding them, how might we help them be more visible? And so we basically took all the listings of the kitchens that were on our platform, in addition to any other listings we were able to find of kitchens, and we made a nationwide directory that's searchable by zip code or city on the kitchen door. And so it's really the one-stop shop place to go find all the existing shared use kitchen spaces that are available. They could be underutilized commercial kitchens, so a church kitchen, or a restaurant that has, some capacity that it wants to rent out in its off time, or they can be a standardized commissary kitchen, all the way to our incubator kitchens, which are essentially commissary kitchens that also provide ecosystem services and business development services to kind of support the entrepreneurs through their journey, versus just offering the space and the storage. They're also providing them with mentors and courses and shared kitchen 101 and workshops and how to start a food business kind of stuff. So,
and if people want to just go in, if they're looking for a kitchen, because a lot of our listeners are in the entrepreneur space. And so if they're interested in finding a kitchen just to rent, do they need to sign up for something special? Do they just go onto your website? How do they find a kitchen if they're looking for one?
Yeah, so if you're a food business looking to find space, you can just go to thekitchendoor.com. You put in your zip code or your city, and a little map will show up of all the kitchens in your area. And then you can zoom out if you want to get a little bit more radius of kitchens. Through our system, you can email or you message them through the application. So it sends a message directly to the kitchen operators. And then For the operators, we have a leads manager, which will send the leads directly to their leads manager, and then they can onboard those folks or they can communicate with those folks in the system. So it kind of puts everything in one place. A lot of the customer discovery that we did was like it's annoying because people are texting and they're emailing and they're calling and they're using all these different communication methods, and this centralizes that, so it's all in one place and there's a paper trail from the get-go, from when the relationship with this food entrepreneur starts all the way through them renting the space. So it does standardize that. But if you're a food business, you can, search all the listings, look at photos of the kitchen, look at what equipment that they have, make sure they're a good fit for you before you send a message. And in the message, we ask some screening questions. What's your budget? How many hours do you need? What days and times work for you? What are you producing? Just some standard stuff so that the kitchen manager can see if they have the time availability and the space availability for that renter.
Ashley, I know you love data. Do you have any data on how it would improve a kitchen manager's income if they were using your CRM system?
We've done the maths on that. So we've had kitchens be able to increase their profits by 25% just by starting to use our platform. Because what happens is the entrepreneurs can book themselves in the spaces. So they get that direct access to manage their own calendars and request changes if needed. But when there's multiple spaces, the percent utilization of the kitchen is like the main metric that supports the profitability of the kitchen. So if they're paying an hourly cost to use the kitchen, you want to increase that percent utilization of the spaces. But you also want to make as many spaces available as possible. And so if you can host 4 different entrepreneurs in your kitchen at a time, you want to try to do that and maximize the space for the kitchen. And so that's what the software really allows for, is allowing that level, that granularity of booking different spaces or even pieces of equipment so that the operator is actually maximizing their revenue generation. Because oftentimes it'd be like, oh, I wasn't able to keep time of those people, or I don't know how long they were in there. And, there's just all these constraints because, Sarah Marshall, like you said, they have their own businesses going on. They don't have the bandwidth to be micromanaging all of the things that are happening. So the software really can do the heavy lifting. So yeah, it really can help a food entrepreneur that has capacity to have that extra revenue stream also as a passive revenue stream, Sarah.
So I've gotten to go to 2 of the shared kitchen summits, and the real eye-opener for me was doing tours of kitchens. And some of the kitchens are so modular, or, they have lots of different rooms that are considered kitchens. Some of the rooms literally are not any bigger than a walk-in closet. And so I think if you're thinking about starting a shared kitchen, the summit would be a great place to start because you learn so much and you can find a mentor and network with peers and stuff like that, and then tour some of the famous kitchens. Now, where is the Shared Kitchen Summit this year, Ashley?
This year, we are going to be in Providence, Rhode Island. So one of our winners of our Golden Whisk Awards, which are our acclaimed industry awards, was Hope in Maine, which is a really great and forward-thinking incubator kitchen in Providence. Their kitchen, I don't know, Sarah, if you've toured it before, but it is absolutely adorable. It's in an old schoolhouse. So it's on 2 different floors and it's got great lighting. It's like a red brick old school schoolhouse. It's absolutely adorable. And they're actually opening a second manufacturing facility in Providence because their incubator has become so successful and so many of their businesses are scaling out of it that they're looking for production capacity. And so they're actually building another facility to help be the next generation of infrastructure for these businesses that are starting to scale out of their incubator, which is a huge success story.
Very cool. I noticed too that you write blog posts. I wasn't sure if it was also part of a newsletter, but you write articles about everything from insurance to things you should consider before running a kitchen. How do people sign up for those or find those if they're interested in learning about the things you're writing about?
Yeah, so we do have a blog, so you can visit our blog. We have a newsletter that you can sign up on our website for. Just go to thefoodcorridor.com and there'll be a little thing that pops up that'll ask you if you want to sign up for the newsletter. So you don't even have to find the little link on there, it'll ask you. Hopefully that's not annoying. Sometimes you get to a website and you're like, don't distract me with this. But that's our intention, is to put that in front of you right away. But yeah, we do. We post our blogs in the newsletter. That's a great way to stay with your finger on the pulse of all the things happening. We post news from across the country, policy changes that are happening. My master's is in food policy, so I tend to be a huge food policy wonk, and I write quite often about cottage food laws and the MICO laws in California and the impact that these types of laws are having on shared kitchens and on entrepreneurship. So yeah, sometimes I get really deep in the weeds. Some of my blog posts are a lot longer than others because of
And
that.
and you have great posts on LinkedIn too, I noticed.
Yeah, I'll cross post them there just because yeah, the reader on LinkedIn is a little different than the reader of our blog, and so I'll put them in both places. Yeah.
If people are interested in listing their kitchens, do they need to be a member or signed up for the service of Food Corridor? Or can they just list it?
They can just list it. It's free to list, and then they get a free leads manager, which will be that, they can log in and all their leads will just show up and they can rank their leads and communicate with their leads. So we have a freemium version of Food Corridor, which is kind of the leads part of it. So you get a listing, put your photos, you can communicate and have that centralized platform. And the idea, of course, is for over time, if we send you enough leads and you're able to manage it within this cool system, maybe you'd want to move into the software and start using us for scheduling and booking. The idea is we've built the software around the actual customer journey of not only the entrepreneur but of the operator. And so we've done a ton of research on what the pain points are and how we might solve those in an elegant way through the software. We hope that that they would upgrade to the software so that we can help solve more of those problems. But there's no need to pay. You can use the freemium version and do it your own way. And I've had people that I demoed with for the software 10 years ago that came back 10 years later and they're like, okay, now I want, we stay in touch with everyone. You don't have to be a Food Corridor client to come to our events, to post on the kitchen door. You don't have to pay anything. So the community is open and welcome to all.
I like that. It kind of gives them a taste of how well everything works and how it's going to help them first.
So Sarah, it's kind of like doing a demo table, give them a taste.
Yeah. I like it. I
Exactly.
think that's good. Well, and Ashley had originally reached out to me because I was posting for a friend who was renting out some kitchen space. And she had said, have them listed on the Food Corridor. And I sent it to her and she did list it and her kitchen space is now rented. So I don't know if she'll,
Success.
I don't know if she'll now become a client of yours, but I don't even know if it's one person or two people or whatever, but she just became a kitchen manager from having her own space and then needing to rent it out because rent, of course, gets more and more expensive the longer you're there.
It's so true. It's so true. You mentioned the journey of the kitchen operator, and oftentimes they were food entrepreneurs themselves. They started a catering company and they got their own facility, and they're not using it 100% of the time, but also some of them are ready to retire. They're tired of being on their feet, and we all know the food industry is super challenging and hard on us. And so being able to start, transitioning to leasing to other food entrepreneurs and sharing also the knowledge. I think one of the things I love about this industry is that these shared kitchens are kind of the heartbeat of the local food system in a lot of ways. They're where people go to find answers. How do I start a food business? And, what should my first steps be? And they're like, oh, you need a business license and insurance and a food handler card. And it's like, oh, great. Somebody to guide you through that process and tell you what you need to do to actually, commercialize. But then also the community of entrepreneurs in the kitchen, they're inviting each other to events and food truck rallies, and they're using each other's products in their catering events and showcasing each other's work. And it's just really awesome to see the communities around these kitchens that form and the success stories that gravitate out of these spaces. I mean, it really, like I said, is the heartbeat of local food. And these are great, great people in these spaces.
And I found the food industry is the most collaborative industry I've ever worked in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so
That's
too.
true.
Yeah, I think people really try to support each other. And when I was in that shared kitchen so long ago, I mean, those people, we only shared a kitchen for maybe 2 years, but we are, still friends, 15 years later, we still hang out, and they're not even in the same like food world anymore. But it doesn't matter because you do get really close with those people because sometimes it's the only people you see. They're like your coworkers, sort of, but then they also become your support system for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's very nice. Well, we have to wrap it up, Ashley. So anything else that you want to tell people before we go?
Yeah, just check out the kitchen door. If you know of a kitchen in your area that's not on the kitchen door, let them know about it. We're trying to grow the listings and availability there just so more food entrepreneurs can find the spaces. Yeah, follow us on our newsletter. We post a lot of our resources and things there. And then we also have Kitchen EDU, which is it's kind of the third pillar of our company. So it's kind of like the kitchen door, the food corridors of software, and then Kitchen EDU is kind of the home for our events. We do one-on-one workshops for operators of kitchens. It's where we sell a lot of our reports and our toolkits and things like that. And that's where our community is hosted. And Tyler, who I think you guys have both met Tyler from the Specialty Food Association, we're so grateful to have her. She's my director of special projects, and she's just has built Kitchen EDU into its own, living, breathing part of our company. And it all feeds back into why we do what we do. So yeah, I encourage you to check out Kitchen EDU. If you're planning on opening a kitchen, come find us. Like, we have pathways and support mechanisms for you. You don't have to go at it alone. There are resources available. So please come find us, and we'd love to learn about what project you're working on in your community.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad that we could make it work to have you on the show today. I think what you're doing is very beneficial to all the people that would be listening to the show and all our entrepreneur buddies. So thanks for creating something that's making people's lives easier. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Sarah. And Sarah.
And thanks to our listeners for listening to the Meaningful Marketplace podcast. Before you go, show some love for our podcast by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. You can follow us on Instagram or YouTube at Meaningful Marketplace Podcast, and you can call or text Sarah and I with questions at 503-395-8858. We couldn't do this without our fantastic team at Joy of Creation Production House. Thanks to Haley, our audio engineer, and today's producer, Dirk. And we will be back next week. Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye.
Bye for now.
If you love the stories we bring you each week, please consider supporting us on Patreon. As an independent media company, your support is absolutely essential. It allows us to continue creating high-quality professional episodes that amplify the voices of women, small business owners, writers, artists, and creatives, and keep their stories free from commercial pressure. By becoming a Patreon member, you're not just supporting us, you're investing in the future of independent media. Please visit patreon.com/The Joy of Creation Production House to join our community today. Thank you for listening and supporting our podcast dreams.